The fifth is known as Archana, Archana. This is like using your body to connect with the divine. So it could be the Surya Namaskar, the sun salutations. It could be like we light candles, or we light a deepak, a traditional oil lamp, placing a flower on the altar, creating a sacred space and sitting in it with your hands in mudra. This is really important. And there is no should'ves, would'ves, could'ves here. This is truly your own internal path, by the way. This is not an institutionalized recommendation. This is simply using your limbs to create some kind of a ritual. But you find that if you have these rituals, Archana rituals, then these actually help you remember. And you don't become so material. You don't become so tight in your identity. For example, every morning I have water in my copper container. I'll show you, I'll pick it up. Here's my container. And it already has this is a blossom from my backyard. And this is going to stay in this all night at my altar. And then the next morning, as early as possible after I wake up, I will go out and I will pour this water along with the flower to Surya, the deity of sun, symbolic of light. And this flower will then fall with the water, and it will be my respect to Mother Earth, the Divine Mother. And then I will chant mantras. So this is all Archana. These are all very serious yogic practices. So I don't, okay, if I'm in a flight or in a hotel room, I may not do it because this is not dogma. When I do this and when I pour the water and I see the flower falling on earth, the gunas, the quality shift from the sleepiness of tamas to the brain and getting energized into problem-solving mode and fixating problems and being stuck in its problem rajas mode to pure sattva. So this is known as Archana. So we have been teaching different sadhanas in Vedic way. The sixth one is known as Vandana, Vandana. It's also a popular Indian name, Vandana. It literally means prayer, like in the Christian tradition and other traditions. But when we're offering Vandana in the Bhakti Yoga tradition, it doesn't have to have an ask for things to be put right in your life. It's more of an acknowledgement of the supreme divine principle and its all-pervading omnipotence, and that it dwells within you too and may it be revealed to you more and more. That's the whole problem, that it's obscure and we are trying to manifest it from within us. So when we offer Vandana, and it doesn't have to be, you could do it at bedtime, like, I've seen in the Christian tradition, one goes below the bed and prays our Father in heaven. One can do that. One can do it in the Hindu way in front of the altars. But for me, when I teach Vandana, I say let your thoughts even be about Vandanas. And it's just the most potent way of a direct dialogue. In my book, I'm describing Vandana as a dialogue between the part and the whole. And knowing that the wholeness within the part is also complete. That's really beautiful. So this Vandana is important. And one could fix time, like at bedtime, I will offer Vandana, or when I wake up. I have taught the ritual of looking at our hands and chanting first thing in the morning. That's a Vandana, when we acknowledge that Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati are in my hands and I bless myself. That's a Vandana. Or when we chant the Gayatri mantra, that's a Vandana in Sanskrit. But we can create our own Vandana in Sanskrit plus in English or whatever is our language. And it's a Vandana. Then we have what is known as Daasya, Daasya. And it is servitude, service, pure service. So what is that? This is the concept of being in service to others, fulfilling divine will, becoming an instrument of the divine. So if you have to take your mother-in-law to the doctors, even though the mother-in-law has not necessarily been showing you gratitude, well, you don't have to go there as the ego doing someone a favor, because that will make you more material and more suffocated with materialness, and it will obscure your light even more. But you could say, okay, all right, duty calls. I'm doing this as service to the divine allness that is obscured in my mother-in-law. That's just an example. That's something that you are all familiar with. We'll talk more about. In fact, there's a whole yoga around this called Karma Yoga that we will discuss in year 2025 in this first cycle of teaching. The eighth way of connecting with the divine is known as Saakhya, Saakhya. Saakhya means friendship. Cultivate the idea of the divine being, Ishwara being your friend, not an authority figure, but being a friend, being your constant companion. So in the Mandukya Upanishad, we have a beautiful teaching of two birds on a tree. And one bird is constantly tasting the sweet berries, looking for the sweet berries, hop, 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 hop. And sometimes it gets a bitter berry and then it gets a shock. And then it just sits back from that shock. And then it looks up around itself, because first it was consumed with the sweet berries, and it's really when it gets a sour, bitter berry that it stops, pauses, and it looks. And there is another bird just compassionately observing it. That's it, doing nothing else but just being there. And the bird says, wow. But then it again starts getting consumed with the sweet berries, avoiding the sour berries, until again and again it gets those gasping moments of sobriety from the constant seeking of pleasure from the sweet berries. And then it looks and it sees that the friend bird is still there, compassionately simply observing it. And now the bird that was previously consumed with enjoying sweet berries and being disenchanted from the sour berries, it has had enough of those moments, so it finally pays attention. And it realizes that though that bird looked just an ordinary onlooker earlier, has a golden halo. And it's very, very peaceful. So the busy bird hops up, and then again sees some berries and gets confused. Again, it hops up, and gradually it comes very close, and it's no longer distracted. And then it realizes it has become peaceful. And then it looks around and there is no other bird. This is the journey. We can see Ishwara as that compassionate bird looking at us while we are busy chasing pleasures and get high with all the sweetness in life, the drug of happiness, the drug of pleasures. And we become sober just long enough to turn to spirituality and Ishwara and yoga when we suffer. So suffering is helpful to make us take a break. But there is a friend waiting for you compassionately, and that is Ishwara. So Ishwara is a friend, and literally, for example, in the Mahabharata, Krishna and Arjuna are friends until Krishna shows his real form as an avatar and says to Arjuna that, oh Arjuna, you are both my friend and you are my disciple. So the stories abound of their relationship. So you're not just a servant, you're also a friend. So that's one beautiful relationship. Finally, the ninth way of connecting with the divine is known as Atma Nivedana, Nivedana. Atma Nivedana means it's the final relationship where you realize that actually that calm bird is your own higher self. So you do a complete letting go of wanting to get somewhere in your divine journey. Instead, you let go of all those desires and instead really become compelled to be in a state of deep divine meditation and bliss. It is a surrender not to lose yourself. You surrender your small identities that kept you separate to gain your ultimate big identity, oneness with the divinity. So these are 9 classic ways. It begins with satsang that has already begun. The chantings that you are doing, some of you are learning, some of the singing, and now the more singing that's going to happen is going to be the Kirtan. You're going to bring into your, by the hour, remembrance, Smaran. You're going to walk this path, not just talk it. That is known as service to the feet. And if you have a deity or a symbol or a rock on your altar, you can also pour a few drops of water and say, I'm worshiping your feet. And then remember, don't just be like a blind person saying, I worship the feet, I'm done. No. What does it mean? Walking the path of Bhakti Yoga. Then Archana, any ritual you want to, not many rituals, but one reverence. It could be a yogic ritual, cultural ritual, but something that reveals more light within you, like the kind I shared. Vandana is prayer. You can write up a prayer, repeat the same one, or create new ones every day. Then you can be in a service mode. This is kind of like the beginning of Karma Yoga with the Daasya Bhava or the servant mode where you're servicing. This is huge in Christianity, I know that. And then the friendship mode, that's not very common in many religious settings, but in Bhakti Yoga and in the Vedic tradition, this is the foundation. That Ishwara is not to be feared, but is your friend waiting for you. And, you may not be connected to this divine power, and then in the dark night of your soul, you just call out once, and the friend's always there, and you have those amazing life-changing experiences, including your ability to get this kind of knowledge in a systematic way. This is all part of the friendship of Ishwara. Through me, Krishna is speaking to you. And then finally, be ready for acknowledging your own self as the divine fountainhead within you. The temple of Ishwara is not far. It is within you in a more obscure part of you, but allow that to come through. Surrender your small identity to gain your universal beingness. So these are the 9 forms that I've introduced there. Please do not keep an Excel list of how you're doing. These are simply suggestions to pick one or two, and it underlines the importance of what's already happening, which is satsang, and to bring to bring Ishwara into more ways into your life is the death knell of the alone, struggling, unloved, unwanted ego. And it is the beginning of the divine recognition. Oh, I have a friend. This whole universe is really friendly, actually. And perhaps the darkness that precedes the dawn is very necessary. And you become more comfortable in this home provided to you by Ishwara. So may you enjoy this teaching. We will continue talking some more in the next satsang. Take care, everyone. Jai Ma.